Check, check. A very good morning to everyone present here. The event will begin in another 5 minutes. I request everyone present in the hall to please put your mobile phones in silent mode. Thank you. I now request the chief guests of the day to please come on to the dais. I request Honorable Mr. Justice M.M. Sundaresh, Judge, Supreme Court of India. Honorable Justice K.V. Vishwanathan, Judge, Supreme Court of India. Honorable Justice R. Subramaniam, Judge, High Court of Madras. Honorable Justice P.Jyothimani, co-author of the book, retired Judge, High Court of Madras. And Mr. Naveen Kumar Murthi, advocate, co-author of the book. A very good morning to one and all. I'm happy to welcome each and every one of you gathered here to celebrate the release of the comprehensive commentary on environmental protection and pollution control laws, an academician's and practitioner's guide. Let us begin this joyous occasion by lighting the lamp of knowledge. I request the honorable dignitaries on the dais to light the Kuttu Vilakku. Sir, please.
Surjit.
Thank you, my lords. On the auspicious note of lighting the lamp, I now request everyone to please rise for the Tamil Thai Vazhthu.
நீராறும் கடலுடுத்த நிலமடந்த கெழிலொழுகும் சீராறும் வதனமென திகழ்வரத கண்டமிதில் தெக்கனமும் அதில் சிறந்த திராவிடனல் திருநாடும் தக்க சிறு பிறை நுதலும் தரித்தனரும் திலகமுமே அத்திலக வாசனை போல் அணிதுலகும் இன்பமுற எத்திசையும் புகழ் மணக்க இருந்த பெரும் தமிழனங்கே உன் சீரிலமை திறம் வியந்து செயல் மறந்து வாழ்த்ததுமே
Before we begin the program for the day, let us take the next few minutes to honor the dignitaries on the stage who have made this morning special by their presence amidst us. I request Senior Advocate and former Additional Advocate General Shri S.T.S. Murthy to present a memento and felicitate Honorable Mr. Justice K.V. Vishwanathan. I request Senior Advocate and Additional Advocate General, Mr. Silambanan, to please felicitate Honorable Mr. Justice K.V. Vishwanathan with a shawl. I request Senior Advocate and former Advocate General of Tamil Nadu, Mr. Vijay Narayanan sir, to felicitate and present a memento to Honorable Mr. Justice M.M. Sundaresh, Judge, Supreme Court of India. I request Senior Advocate Shri Jayant Muthuraj from the Supreme Court of India to come onto the stage and felicitate and present a memento to Honorable Mr. Justice R. Subramaniam, Judge, High Court of Madras. Sir, please. Thank you, sirs. Environmental law is a dynamic field and encompasses laws and regulations aimed at reducing pollution, conserving wildlife, and addressing climate change. By balancing ecological concerns with economic growth, environmental law strives to safeguard our environment for future generations. And today, our commitment to environmental law is more crucial than ever. The timely publication of this book, the Environmental Law book, couldn't be more appropriate. As global awareness of climate change and ecological issues intensifies, this book arrives at a pivotal moment, offering a comprehensive analysis on current environmental challenges. It aims to equip readers with the latest legal frameworks and strategies needed to address pressing environmental concerns, making it an invaluable resource for practitioners, policymakers, and anyone passionate about protecting our planet. It gives me immense happiness to welcome Mr. Naveen Kumar Murthi, advocate, our senior and mentor, with whom we have had the privilege of working on this book and whom I have known has toiled several nights long after the office hours to complete this comprehensive work and to do justice to the subject matter. I welcome Mr. Naveen Kumar Murthi, advocate and co-author of the book, to deliver the welcome address. Sir, please.
எல்லாம் வல்ல இறைவனை வேண்டி அன்னை இயற்கையை வணங்கி ஒரு வழக்கறிஞராக இந்த விழாவின் கதாநாயகனாகிய இந்த புத்தகத்தின் எழுத்தாளனாக உங்கள் முன்னே நான் நிற்கிறேன் என்றால் அதற்கு முழுமுதற் காரணம் என்னுடைய குரு, என் ஆசான், என் வழிகாட்டி, என் உற்ற நண்பர், என் அன்பு தந்தை மற்றும் என்னை இன்னும் தன் சிறு பிள்ளை போல் கண்களைப் போல் பார்த்து கொள்ளும் என் அன்பு தாய். இவர் இருவரின் பாதம் தொட்டு பணிந்து இந்த விழாவின் வரவேற்புரையை நான் துவங்குகின்றேன். My Lord Honorable Justice Suryakant, who was supposed to be with us today, considering the fact that the Honorable President of India is addressing in the All India District Judges Conference today, and his Lordship has to be there. His Lordship has sent his best wishes and would be addressing us virtually today. Like Lord Surya, who lights the world from afar, Justice Suryakant has lighted this function from being from Delhi. Thank you very much, sir. As the parents' patri or the guiding light of the state judiciary of Tamil Nadu, now making the flag of Tamil Nadu fly all over the country, Honorable Justice M.M. Sundaresh has been the pillar of support, encouragement, and motivation for many members of the bar and the bench. And I welcome him with all my heart, and I thank him for all the support he's provided for the book. Kasi Vishwanathar is there in the north. We have sent our Kovai Vishwanathar from the south to be in Delhi. A colossus at the bar, his lordship was one among the busiest practitioners, and his lordship took the decision that to render service and give it back to the system, he accepted judgeship of the Honorable Supreme Court of India. And in the last 1 year, his judgments reflect what commitment he has to justice. In fact, the recent judgment of his, where his lordship said, excessive bail is no bail, and the Supreme Court must find a solution, indicates the thought process his lordship has. Thank you very much for coming, sir. One commonality that all the three guests have today from the Supreme Court, apart from being providential jurists, exceptional knowledge on the subject, and being prolific speakers, they are great human beings. And that is all the more relevant for today's address because they are great and humble human beings, and we all must learn from them the humility and the mutual respect that they show to the fellow human beings. Our special guest is our fire and ice. Fire as a judge inside court, ice as a judge outside court. Our senior judge, Honorable Justice R. Subramaniam, who has accepted to be our special guest in a very short notice. Thank you very much, sir. And I have been in the profession for about more than a decade and almost touching the half. On the first year of my practice, I was in the Advocate General's chamber. The Advocate General said we will prepare the farewell address for one among the most celebrated judges of Madras High Court. So I said, sir, I will help you do that. Can I add 1 or 2 words? He said, please add the word. I said, a particular judge has been a Jyoti during times of darkness and money during times of trouble. And that is none other than Justice Jyothimani, my co-author, who has given me immense freedom to do this work, whose exceptional knowledge on the subject, being a judge of the High Court, being a member of the National Green Tribunal, has given us a great insight, and we have had a great time working along with the book. And what as a team we must tell is, as a captain, he gave us the entire freedom. He said, I am not going to play the captain's innings, you are the vice captain, you play the entire innings. So I'm thankful for that, sir. Thank you very much. And today we have had a jam-packed audience. Honorable judges of the High Court who are really busy today also have taken their time off and come. Honorable Justice Madhavi Devi from the Telangana High Court has come all the way. Honorable Justice Pujari, who was with us, the current Human Rights Commission Chairman of Odisha, took time and he has been with us today. Senior IAS officers, senior IPS officials, senior IRS officials are here. My classmate, 2 officers who are IRS officers, they are there. And incidentally, 2 classmates of mine who have recently got selected as district judges, they are here. Senior advocates who are really busy have taken their time out on this Sunday. My friends, well-wishers and senior advocate from Ooty, Shri Krishnamurthy, is amidst us today. Thank you so much for taking your time and being with us today. And this is an important event. Many of us asked, why a book on environmental law? Mr. Naveen, you are practicing on the civil side, on the company side. Hardly you go to environmental matters. I said, no. There is a connection for me and Justice Jyothimani all the more. As a 20-year-old boy in 2010, the National Green Tribunal Act was enacted. The Act said that the power of the High Court is sought to be taken away. And incidentally, as a party in person, I was the one to challenge it. And incidentally today, by the judgment of His Lordship Justice Gavai, it has said that the High Court's power of superintendence on Article 226 and 227 of the Constitution of India is a bedrock as per the Chandrakumar's case, and it has been fortified. I've also had the benefit of standing as a standing counsel for the Tea and Pollution Control Board for a while. And His Lordship Justice Sanjay Kishan Kaul, our former Chief Justice, gave me a great opportunity to be an amicus in a full bench involving an issue whether water bodies can be squandered. And I had the benefit of assisting the bench. And through all these events, we were able to understand one thing. All the other subjects of law that we deal with due respect, deal with our livelihood. But this environmental law is the only subject that deals with our life, our very existence. And therefore, that is the reason we thought that we must come up with the commentary. We must come up with the commentary. We must come up with this commentary. And as a result, we have produced this book, which is going to be the Kadanayagan of the day. The Villanayagan are the honorable judges from the Supreme Court and the special guest. And that is the reason we thought over and have pondered and have covered all subjects, which you will see the book being released in some time. One issue that most of us face today is the summers are getting hotter, winters are getting colder, the rainfall is getting unpredictable, uneven. Most of us in the news would have seen what happened in Wayanad a few weeks back, what happened in Uttarakhand a few weeks back. These are all impacts of climate change, which the Honorable Supreme Court recently has held, has to be controlled, and right to be having a life without the impact of climate change is now recognized as a part of Article 21. Today's theme that Honorable Justice Suryakant, Honorable Justice Sundaresh, and my Lord Justice Vishwanathan would be addressing is planet Earth and the third pillar. As we all know, the three pillars of the democracy are the foundation. And the first and the second pillar perform the role of being the legislature and the executive. But the ultimate pillar that plays the right or the role of ensuring that citizens' rights are protected is none other than the third pillar, that is the judiciary. And over the last 4 decades, the contribution made by the judiciary in protecting the planet Earth is substantial, which all of us will be hearing from the speakers in some time. And at this juncture, I am reminded of what was quoted in the V.G. Rose case about 5 decades back, that the judiciary is considered to be the sentinel on the Kivav. It is the watchtower of the Constitution, and this judiciary has acted as the watchtower of the rights of the people to ensure that their rights are safeguarded. Another crucial aspect also that we need to ponder over is, as human beings today, there is an individualistic role that is attached to every human being. Small things that we do would have a certain and a substantial impact on saving the environment. Take, for instance, from saving water in our pipes to saving paper. Every small gesture of ours would go a long way. In fact, about a few years back, when my Lord Justice Sundaresh was a judge of the High Court, Honorable Justice Bharatidasan was there, Honorable Justice Dandapani was there, they all used to do carpooling, where instead of driving 5 cars on the road to the High Court, Honorable judges would give way for their comfort, pull in 1 car and go to the High Court. This is an indication that judges are being conscientious and they are doing their bit part. I think all of us should take inspiration from that, contribute what little we can for the environment, because in a recent judgment, my Lord Honorable Justice Sundaresh had extracted what the tribal chief of Seattle had written to the then President George Washington in 1854, about 170 years back. It is a beautiful judgment that is there in the very first page of our book, which most of you will read when you see the book. What was told by the tribal chief was, he said, our land, our forest, every pine needle does not belong to you or me. It belongs to the nature and you cannot touch it. But unfortunately, over time, there has been deterioration of all kinds. Forests have been deteriorated, wildlife have been affected. And we have covered all these aspects in the book. And most recently, day before yesterday, the Madras High Court has delivered a judgment on ex post facto clearance on EIA, Environmental Impact Assessment. On a lighter note, I was on the losing side, but I was happy being on the losing side because the court said that environmental clearances cannot be there for formality. It has to be there for being scrupulously followed to ensure that the environment is protected. On this note, I am really happy that so many of you from all over the country have taken your time off and come. Thank you very much. We welcome all of you, and we hope that all of you like the book. As a team, I would thank, because I think Justice Jyothimani, my senior, would do the thanking. But as a team, the entire office, including young interns, have done a fantastic job In fact, on a lighter note, again, I'm using the word lighter note on a second time. The gestation of a baby, a child, is about 10 months. I thought the same. I told the publisher I'll complete the book in 12 months. Kora Prasavam became Nare Prasavam. It completed 12 months. 12 months became 18 months. 18 months became 24 months. Then we were wondering when the baby will be delivered in the form of the book. Is it going to be a C-section? It is going to be a normal delivery. And fortunately today, the book has taken shape. Today, it will be appearing as one. When it comes to the market, you will have twins, 2 parts of the very same book, volume 1 and volume 2. And I thank everyone who have come here. I welcome everybody who had come here, taken their time. And I thank the honorable judges who have taken their time all the way, coming from the Honorable Supreme Court. And I hope and trust all of us take that initiative, do a tiny bit to protect this environment and ensure that the world and the planet Earth cherishes but will never perish. Thank you.
It is now the much awaited moment to present the protagonist of the day to all of you and to the rest of the fraternity. The comprehensive commentary on environmental protection and pollution control laws, an academicians and practitioners guide, authored by Dr. Justice P.Jyothimani, retired judge, High Court of Madras, and Advocate Mr. Naveen Kumar Murthi. I request the honorable guests on the dais to release the book. Sirs, please. Thank you, sirs. It is my honor to thank and express our gratitude to Honorable Justice Surya Kant, Judge, Supreme Court of India, the chief guest of the day, who has authored several landmark judgments, including the judgment in Jitendra Singh versus Ministry of Environment and others, wherein his lordship has held that extinguishing of local water bodies to be violative of Article 21. Though his lordship could not be physically present with us, I am honored to present the video message sent by his lordship on the book release. Over to the screens beside us on the left and the right for the book release address by Honorable Justice Surya Kant.
My brother justices, Justice M.M. Sundaresh, Justice K.V. Viswanathan from the Supreme Court of India, Justice D. Krishna Kumar, Acting Chief Justice, Madras High Court, other Honorable Judges of the Madras High Court, Honorable Reformer Judges, distinguished audience, a very good morning to one and all present here. I am delighted to join you all at the launch of a book that addresses one of the most pressing concerns of our time, namely environmental protection. The book we have gathered to celebrate today, captioned as Exhaustive Commentary on Environmental and Pollution Laws in India, a Practitioner's and Academician's Guide by Justice P.Jyothimani and Advocate Naveen Kumar Murthi, stands as a remarkable contribution to our collective understanding and response to this global crisis. The authors, with their extensive experience on the bench of and before the National Green Tribunal, respectively have crafted this comprehensive body of work on the foundations of law for environmental protection in India. With the shrinking of sea ice, heavy precipitation, and the increased frequency of heat waves, we are already seeing the effects of lax environmental protection regimes around the globe. These effects are only projected to worsen as the years go by if we as a people stand idle. Unfortunately, an often unfair burden is placed on third world countries such as India regarding their role in this issue. Industrialized countries have historically contributed the most to mandate greenhouse gas emissions. At the same time, the impacts of climate change are distributed very unevenly, disproportionately affecting poorer regions and countries, that is, those who have generally contributed the least to human-induced climate change. The call for developed countries to meet their climate change obligations is echoed in every conference of parties to achieve the Paris Agreement and even G20 event. Around the world, we have various governmental and intergovernmental organizations, think tanks, and NGOs working relentlessly to produce working papers, policy papers, impact statements, and the like to keep the discourse on environmental protection running and to ensure effective policies are implemented by governments to meet their obligations. It is right to reiterate before the distinguished audience present here today that the right to a healthy and clean environment for all is embedded in Article 21 of our Constitution. With huge strides being made almost every day at the grassroots level, we as members of the judiciary cannot forego our obligation towards this noble cause. We are placed in a unique position wherein we can initiate top-down change to hold the relevant authorities responsible for their violations of environmental protection laws. Even when such protections are lacking, we uphold the right to a healthy and clean environment for all by halting the pollution-causing action and encouraging authorities to create the necessary safeguards. Let's also discuss the role played by Indian judiciary towards enhancement of environmental protection through ages. I wish to say that the Indian judiciary has always taken a proactive stance when it comes to environmental protection and the adverse impact pollution causing activities can have on the lives of the people. We can trace such proactiveness as far back as the famed MC Mehta's case of 1988. Here, the Supreme Court, while dealing with the effect of untreated effluents being discharged in the Ganga River, directed not just all tanneries to install waste water treatment plants, but held that the tanneries that could not afford to install such plants should not be allowed to operate. The Supreme Court established that it is not just the duty of the government or the state to protect the environment. The duty lies with all entities and individuals enjoying the benefit of environment. Later, in S. Jagannath's case, the Supreme Court, when dealing with the expansion of shrimp farming in ecologically sensitive coastal zones, enforced the CRZ notification of 1991, while observing that sea coasts and beaches are the gift of nature to mankind. The Supreme Court prohibited any activity which had the effect of degrading the environment. In both the aforementioned cases, the Supreme Court did not merely put a halt on the prohibited or pollution-causing activities. It also issued a multitude of directives to the government to enhance environmental protection in the area, including granting compensation to those wrongly affected, ordering the proper issue of clearances, and conducting scientific inquiries on particular issues. As stated in case of Sachidanand Pandey versus State of West Bengal, and I quote, "Whenever the matter of ecology is brought before the court is not to shrug its shoulders, saying that it's a matter for the policy-making authority." I have also tried to do my best to follow this judicial dharma to ensure that the state and its instrumentalities remain accountable and answerable to the very people who elect them. In the case of Jitendra Singh versus Ministry of Environment, the question was whether the respondents could be allowed to take over a water body used by the villagers of the area for over a century. I authored the judgment on behalf of the bench and held that the respondents' scheme of allowing the destruction of existing water bodies and providing for replacements exhibited a mechanical application of environmental protection. Although it might be possible to superficially replicate a water body elsewhere, there was no guarantee that the adverse effect of destroying the earlier one would be offset. Destroying the lake would kill the vegetation around it, prevent seepage of groundwater, affect the already low water table, compel the people living around the lake to travel to the alternative site, and the animals and marine organisms would perish. None of this could be prevented or offset by merely filling a hole with water elsewhere. In a case of court on its own motion versus Himachal Pradesh State Pollution Control Board in the High Court in public interest litigation, which was initiated suo motu against the industries that were discharging untreated effluents and were operating without consent from the Himachal Pradesh State Pollution Control Board, as Chief Justice of the High Court, my bench held that the industries that were guilty of operating for years without obtaining consent from the State Pollution Control Board and violated the provisions of the Air Act, Water Act, and would have to buy 2 plastic shredding machines and entrust the same to the State Pollution Control Board for onward entrustment to the municipal councils. So it was a case of imposing a pollution tax on the defaulting industries. Even in Chetan Kumar versus Chief Secretary of Government of Himachal Pradesh, my bench issued detailed directives to the state government and the Himachal Government Water Authority to examine each and every aspect illustrated in our judgment regarding the improper construction of a bore well by a private respondent. We also directed that to revisit the existing rules and regulations and to take an appropriate policy decision. Indian history has always been marked by immense respect for the environment, with lives tailored around achieving a balance between human needs and environmental protection. I mention all these cases to emphasize that the Indian judiciary has been no exception and has consistently upheld the sanctity of the environment even when the rest of the world fell short. This book release comes at an opportune time when the International Court of Justice is also preparing its upcoming advisory opinion on the obligations of states in respect of climate change. Courts around the world, national and international, are taking an interest in environmental protection. Much like how the Indian judiciary has been doing for decades, they are taking a proactive stance in ensuring protection of the environment. They recognize how the environment is intrinsically linked with humans and their ability to survive, and are taking encouraging initiatives on all fronts to safeguard our collective future. For instance, in the case of Washington versus Development Control Authority, the Privy Council of Antigua and Barbuda upheld the necessity of environmental impact assessments when embarking on large-scale projects. Not just that, the Privy Council criticized the lower court's dismissal of the case on technicalities and held that cases for judicial review involving issues of environmental concern must be heard as long as the applicant demonstrates some knowledge and concern for the subject. Another notable decision in my knowledge is that of the High Court of South Africa in Mineral Sands Resource versus Christine Riddell. Here, mining companies filed defamation claims against activists who had been critical of the company's mining activities. The defendants had published e-books, spoken in radio interviews, written emails, published on social media, and posted an article online. The High Court, while dismissing the defamation claim, held that, and I quote, in instances where corporates could be the main cause of damaging and destructive behavior of the environment and biodiversity, civil society should be allowed to confront and restrain such behavior. This decision, in my opinion, underscores the importance of public dialogue and debate on matters of environment. The judges of the High Court of Kenya in Muhammad Ali Badi versus Attorney General conducted an on-site survey themselves with the aid of experts to determine if the construction of a port would have ill effects on the environment. Through this site visit, the court observed that mitigation measures touted by the government and the port developer were not entirely effective. Among other things, the court recognized that the right to a clean and healthy environment includes the right to have the environment protected for the benefit of future generations. I note these decisions to show one and all present here that the problem of environmental protection is not being ignored by those who have the duty to protect your constitutionally mandated rights. In fact, the judiciaries of the world are now more aware, conscious, and pragmatic about issues concerning environmental protection and their inevitable impacts on the people than ever before. The burden of protecting the environment and mitigating climate change is one we all share. Some of us, by virtue of our position, can make a distinct impact in a shorter span of time. This is both a privilege and a duty. Justice Jyothimani has remarkably displayed through this book that it's a duty that a judge can discharge from anywhere and in any form. With increased access to information, it has become easier for us and the public to understand and evaluate the repercussions certain actions and inactions have in the long term. We have known for ages that the consequences of climate change and imprecise environmental protection will impact us all. With the magnificent foundation our country's history and our judiciary's past have laid down, we must not lose sight of our duties, regardless of what goes on in the rest of the world. I hope the Indian judiciary continues to protect the causes affecting our very existence and consequently leads the other jurisdictions by example. In the end, my heartiest congratulations to both the authors, the publishers, and other contributors who have done a commendable job in bringing this book. All my best wishes to all of them. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you, my lord, for the elaborate and insightful address, tracing the judgments of the Indian courts and also throwing light on an international perspective. I am extremely happy to have with us Honorable Justice M.M. Sundaresh, whose profound knowledge and unwavering commitment to the rule of law continue to shape our legal landscape from the Honorable Apex Court as it did when His Lordship was adorning the bench of our... I stand corrected. Now, it is my honor to welcome our beloved Honorable Justice R. Subramaniam, Judge of the Madras High Court, whose fearless decisions and unwavering commitment to upholding the law have set a powerful example in our legal system. I now welcome His Lordship to deliver the special address.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody. I am reminded of Rava Upma. No, this Rava Upma is a dish which is made instantaneously as a substitute, or when there is nothing left, we make Rava Upma. I am here as Rava Upma today because my seniors, both Krishna Kumar and S.S. Sundar, could not be here. Anyway, I will try to do justice. When Naveen called me and told me that I must address this afternoon, I told him, though I was not designated as senior counsel when I was at the bar, today I am like a senior counsel because I heard from him about the book and I am going to speak to you on that. A senior counsel with instructions without reading. My good friend, Honorable Justice Sundaresh, Judge Supreme Court of India, Honorable Justice Viswanathan, Judge Supreme Court of India, Honorable Justice Dr. P.Jyothimani and Naveen Kumar Murthi, the co-authors of the book, Honorable Justice Pushpa Satyanarayana, Chairperson of the NGT, Southern Bench of the NGT, Honorable Justice Pujari, who has come all the way from Orissa to be with us, Honorable Justice Pal Vasantakumar, former Chief Justice of Jammu and Kashmir. I was told he was the one who took the view that NGT is amenable to Article 226 jurisdiction. And my brother and sister judges of the Madras High Court and sister judge from Telangana, senior advocates, friends at the bar. A very good afternoon to all of you. Environmental law had its international, the Molachi Moon Ella first international, it first came up, sprouted, you can say it sprouted with the Antarctic Treaty in 1952. From there on, we have come up to the coastal zone regulations in 2011 and 16. There has been a remarkable development. As far as the city of Madras is concerned, we have the CIT colonies. They are City Improvement Trust colonies. If you look at the object with which these City Improvement Trusts were framed or formed for the first time, it said, with urbanization, lot of these water bodies have become useless. Therefore, these trusts were formed to convert them into residential areas. Just about 100 years ago, that was our wisdom regarding protecting environment. We wanted to close water bodies, develop them as house sites to mitigate the housing problem within the ever-growing city. Today, we have coastal zone regulations, banning construction on the beach front. We have so many environmental laws, even Forest Act. The forest dwellers' rights are protected by an enactment brought in 2006. So much of law has come in to protect the environment. This is the development which we have gone up. So after 1952 on the international arena, we had the Stockholm Conference in 1972. That was followed by the United Nations Environment Programme. Then came the Rio Summit in 1992. Then the Johannesburg Summit came on sustainable development. See, and we have a lot of these conventions on ozone protection, maritime protection, biological diversity, wildlife protection. Lot of these things came, climate change. And then how are we to sustain growth with the environment? That became a larger issue. How do we protect growth with the environment? See, I had a case where I appeared as a lawyer, where the Tamil Nadu Housing Board wanted to put up 152 residential apartments just outside an area which was classified as highly hazardous industrial zone. Highly hazardous industrial zone in Ambattur. The housing board constructed 152 apartments there. Then we filed a writ petition. The writ petition was allowed. The single judge directed demolition of the entire 152 apartments because you are having highly hazardous industries nearby. Then whenever this pollution or environment comes to our mind, we are reminded of the Delhi Foundries case, the Agra leather industries. Then near home we had Vellore Citizens Forum where the leather industries were polluting. Those things, one by one we had come in. We are very close to achieving something on the environmental front. And as Honorable Justice Suryakant pointed out, the judiciary in India has also been doing its bit to protect the environment. And the NGT, coming up with the NGT is a very great concept which has come up, and all the National Green Tribunals are doing a wonderful job on the preservation of the environment. One aspect which I came across recently sitting in Madurai was the auctioning of fishing rights. Justice Suryakant said that Jitendra Singh's case, where the preservation of local ponds and tanks, water areas. And as guys from Tanjavur district, me and Bharati Dasan, we have bathed in those tanks. We have seen cattle drinking water from those tanks. Today, those tanks are unfit for even bathing cattle. That is because of one particular activity, namely fish culture. The panchayats auction the fish, right to fish in a pond. What is auctioned is the right to fish, but what is done is fish culture. Other excreta is dumped into the tank. Chemicals are dumped in. Therefore, the water in the tank has become unfit even for bathing cattle, let alone drinking and bathing of human beings. It has become unfit for bathing cattle. This is another impact on the environment. These are all things which we will have to, I would implore the chairperson of the NGT to take note of this. NGT Southern Bench to take note of this, and they have enormous powers, unlike high courts. High courts are also, but I have also ordered an audit of these tanks, but I don't know when that will be completed because they said they are very low on manpower, they can't do it. And now coming to the book. Chapter wise, I had a bird's eye view of the book. I came a little early in the morning only with that object in mind, and I was able to, and they have dealt with chapter wise. Rightly, the chapter 1 deals with the international conventions. Then chapter 2 deals with the constitutional law and its impact on the environmental law. Then chapter 3 deals with the environment, that environmental impact assessment, all that is done there. Chapter 4 and 5, of course, deal with air and water pollution. Chapter 6 deals with the NGTs and their functions. Chapter 7 goes to the forest, 8 wildlife, then 9 impact assessment, 10 is the CRZ, and 11 is the latest concept of biodiversity. And recently we have this bigger problem of the biosphere preservation, that Manjola estates, that is being debated upon as to whether takeover is right or wrong. And nearly 7,000 acres of land, which was tea estate, is now sought to be converted into forest. That will be a giant leap by the Tamil Nadu government towards the achievement of biodiversity. All those things are taking shape. And this book encompasses all these things, and it has been rightly titled as a comprehensive commentary on environmental protection and pollution control laws. And I found that a lot of these very, very minor topics which will assume importance in future have also been brought in, particularly control of plastic pollution, plastic waste, e-waste, e-vehicles. Now, see, earlier, my dad purchased a fridge when I was in law college in 1983, a Godrej refrigerator, and that served us till 2015. We've made some repairs. Some repairs were made and that was intact. That served us till 2015. And I changed it only in 2015. But now, in Chennai, I set up my family in 1992, immediately after marriage. Today I have the 5th fridge in my house. Say in 30 years, I have a 5th fridge in my house. What did I do with the older 4 ones? Nobody knows. That is the e-waste that is generated by us, by shifting. 5th fridge and the 4th washing machine. What did I do with the older ones? All of them went for junk. All of them are e-waste. Then we now have these e-vehicles. We have not done any research on what is going to be the waste created by them. And how are we going to dispose that waste? That is going to be another challenging issue. See, unless we make some kind of an impact assessment before introducing something, it will be very difficult for us to cope up with the waste that is created by these plastics. You find plastics everywhere. Anywhere you go, you find plastic bottles. And that is going to be very difficult to deal with. Now at least we have come up with some solution. Some campuses have banned plastics. We are going towards it, but it should be a long-term plan. And see, this book, I am sure, will serve as a source of knowledge for both lawyers as well as judges, and for the public also. Because unless the public have a vision on environment protection, we can't succeed in protecting the environment. So this should be more publicized, and I hope we take it across to the public, and then they realize their part, and every one of us should play a role to improve the environment. And a very good attempt by Honorable Justice Jyothimani, who has an ocean of experience, and this young man Naveen Kumar Murthi, who has got the energy. The experience of Justice Jyothimani and the energy of Naveen Kumar have blended very well into a very good book, and I am sure all of you will enjoy reading it. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, my lord, for throwing light on the practical realities and reminding all of us of our duties to the environment. It is now my privilege to introduce a truly remarkable and honorable judge of the Honorable Supreme Court, Justice K.V. Vishwanathan, who is known for their humility and profound dedication to justice, and whose wealth of experience in the profession over several decades is to result in several landmark decisions. His Lordship's wisdom and compassionate approach has inspired many and continues to uphold the highest standards of our legal system. I am honored to welcome His Lordship to deliver the keynote address. Lordship, please.
நவீன் மூர்த்தி தன்னுடைய உரையின் தொடக்கத்திலே தகப்பனாருக்கு இந்த நூலை பாத காணிக்கையாக செலுத்திய பொழுது உங்கள் மனதில் எழுந்தது போல் என்னுடைய மனதிலும் வள்ளுவரின் இரு குறள்கள் அசிரீரி போல் பாய்ந்தன. மகன் தந்தை காற்றும் நன்றி, இவன் தந்தை என்னோற்றான் கொல் எனுஞ்சொல். இந்த மகனை பெறுவதற்கு என்ன தவம் இந்த தந்தையாரும் தாயாரும் மேற்கொண்டனரோ என்று சான்றோர்கள் வியக்கும்படி நடந்து கொள்ள வேண்டுமோ அதை அவர் பூர்த்தி செய்துள்ளார். அதேபோல தந்தை தாயாரை பற்றி கூறுகையில், தந்தை மகற்காற்றும் பணி அவையத்து முந்தியிருப்ப செயல் என்றார். இதில் 2 கருத்துக்கள் கூறப்படுகின்றன. 2 கருத்துகளும் தந்தையார் பூர்த்தி செய்திருக்கிறார். முதலில் நான் படித்த கருத்து, தந்தை தாயார் தன்னுடைய பிள்ளைகளை சான்றோர்கள் பாராட்டுமாறு வளர்க்க வேண்டும் என்பது ஒன்று. மற்றொன்று, அவர்கள் பிள்ளை சான்றோர்களால் பாராட்டும்படி நடந்து கொள்ள வேண்டும் என்பது. 2ம் பூர்த்தி செய்யப்பட்டிருக்கின்றன. So I like the way you began the talk, Naveen, and that's the way to go. My dear, distinguished and affectionate elder brother, Honorable Justice Sundaresh, Justice R. Subramaniam, Senior Judge, High Court of Judicature at Madras, the bridegrooms for the afternoon, Honorable Justice P.Jyothimani and Naveen Kumar Murthi, distinguished judges of the High Court of Madras, distinguished senior lawyers, sisters and brothers, ladies and gentlemen, a very good afternoon to you. At the outset, let me convey my congratulations to the authors for what I feel is not only an important book, but a very, very timely one. Like in cricket, so in law, timing has its own importance and elegance. I think there could not have been a more important book at this point of time in our civilization. And having browsed through the book, I think it is a seminal contribution. The way the book is structured, Justice Subramaniam dealt with it. I think it makes for easy reading, and it helps you locate whatever you are looking for in a particular area of jurisprudence. It has 11 chapters. It begins with the international conventions from the Antarctic Treaty and goes right up till analysis of the different statutes, the Environment Protection Act, the Air and Water Act, the National Green Tribunal Act, the Forest Act, the Wildlife Protection Act, the Environment Impact Assessment Notifications. Most of you who have dealt with this will know that we had one in 1991, followed by another in 2006, followed by an amendment in 2011. So all that has been comprehensively dealt with. And the coastal zone management regulations. What is CRZ1, what is 2, what is 3, what is 4, and then the Biodiversity Act. But what is important is, we have come a long way from Justice Krishnayar's exposition in Vardichan. And what a fantastic innovation that was. Before the Environment Protection Act, dealing with abatement of nuisance, Justice Krishnayar looked around and caught hold of a provision under the Criminal Procedure Code and dealt with abatement of nuisance, virtually foretelling with great clairvoyance the need for a comprehensive environmental legislation, which came in 1986 with the Environment Protection Act. And then a whole host of other acts and regulations, all of which have been captured in the book. And then came the interpretation process of the Supreme Court, and I think it is in that area where this book will play a large role, because as one sees, with the passage of time, the court has fashioned new tools of interpretation. And I think it is time now that the court, wherever needed, refashions and adapts the tools of interpretation, because we are facing a very grave challenge on account of the adverse effects of climate change. First, we had the polluter pays principle, some of which may be very mundane, but required to trace the process and see where we have reached now. It was confined to the individual who was polluting. He was made to pay a penalty. And then they said, we need sustainable development. While environment has to be protected, we can't compromise on development. Then came the doctrine of sustainable development. And then the court realized that we can't look at the present alone. They evolved the doctrine of intergenerational equity. I mean, all of them would have come simultaneously. I am only arranging it in the order that it occurs to me. And then in MC Mehta, when attempts were made to divert natural course of rivers by important persons who were entrusted with the duty to protect, the court evolved the doctrine of public trust. And then the court felt that, look, we are all talking of a very anthropocentric approach, in as much as we are trying to only look at human beings, because we can think and we can speak. But we also need to look at the other beings, the flora and the fauna. So they said the shift has to be now from purely anthropocentric to also ecocentric. And now, with climate change and the adverse effects becoming an existential threat, the court has, in Ranjit Singhji, a passage of which we will see, has said that now it is to move towards conservation, balancing and conserving, because the court was really called upon to protect the extinct or near extinct bird species of the great Indian bustard and the pelican, on account of the frequent deaths that were occurring due to the overhead high tension electric wires. But then the court found that they were all high tension overhead wires of renewable energy sources. So that itself conserves energy. If coal were to be the fuel, the carbon emissions would have been much more. So since solar and wind energy were already protecting the environment in that sense, how do you draw the balance if all of them were to be pulled down? It will cause certain other hazards, because it's not a linear line always. There will be other problems. So the court said, we must now balance. And the court also found in that judgment that, which has been, noticed internationally, and the judgments are noticed in the book, that the adverse effects of climate change are largely felt on the poor and the marginalized. And I'll also refer to a brief study on the impact climate change has on marginalized farmers, the poor marginalized farmers. So in that regard, the book is a very valuable addition, and it's going to go a long way in helping the cause of mitigating the adverse effects of climate change. Now I refer to the recent study I just came across. I thought, speaking as I am on environment, I'll share with you this study by the Forum of Enterprise for Equitable Development. Actually classifies into different subheads the types of events that occur in a climate change. Very often we notice it, but since it was collected in one place, it made sense for me to read it, and I'm sure it will make sense to you. Early withdrawal and or delayed arrival of monsoons. We're all experiencing it. Sometimes you feel the monsoon has come too early. Sometimes you feel the monsoon has come late. Sometimes you feel it is far too intensive. We never had rains like this before. We have constant reference in newspapers. The last time Chennai had this kind of rain was, in so-and-so year. Floods, cyclone, droughts, and rainfall much lower than the normal amount, sometimes much higher than the normal amount. And a timely reference was made to Wayanad and Uttarakhand. It's unbelievable, because we are a vast country and our population is so huge and our issues, so much, we tend to forget. It's only 2-3 weeks after the catastrophe at Wayanad. 2 full villages have been wiped away. We really don't know what the official count of the casualties would have been, what difficulties they would face in, rehabilitating themselves, even those who survived. And not because my brother Sundaresh is here and I have a lot of affection for him. I must refer, I'll be failing in my duty if I don't refer to a very erudite paper presented by him at a closed-door Indo-Singapore joint conference of both the Supreme Courts, of which the Chief Justice led the delegation. It was in Delhi last week on 23rd of August. Mr. Sundaresh presented a paper. I was part of the delegation. It was on a working day. We sat on the conference because we thought it was as important as hearing cases. And he highlighted the effects that climate change could have on the rights in corporate law. The questions were raised as to whether those who are non-compliant could be disqualified from presenting resolution plans under the Insolvency Bankruptcy Code. There is a limited provision dealing with conviction on certain areas as disqualification for tabling, but even if there is no such patent disqualification, could sections 30 and 32B, when you peruse a plan to be in accordance with the law, be used to blackball industries which are known to be recalcitrant? And that was an extremely well-received paper, and I think it will repay study. I'm sure Brother Sundaresh should make it available to the others too. In Ranjit Singhji, talking of how this climate change will have its impact most felt on the poor and the marginalized, Chief Justice Chandrachud, speaking for the Supreme Court, after recognizing that we all have a right to be free from the adverse effects of climate change, had the following to say: the inability of the underserved communities to adapt to climate change or cope with its effects violates the right to life as well as the right to equality. This is better understood with the help of an example. If climate change and environmental degradation lead to acute food and water shortages in a particular area, poorer communities will suffer more than richer ones. The right to equality would undoubtedly be impacted in each of these instances. Now correlate this with the conclusion of this study. This study says, after detailed analysis of the empirical data, compared to the crop loss reported in the last extreme weather event, the cumulative trend over the past 5 years shows that a higher proportion of farmers are losing at least 1/3 to half of their crops due to these events. The study demonstrated that 50% of paddy farmers and over 40% of wheat farmers losing more than half of their crops is a consistent trend over the past 5 years. For all other crops, losing more than 50% of their crops has been reported by 45 to 60% of the farmers. These are alarming numbers and perhaps signifies the need for universalization of crop insurance, cover among the constituency. Now, one is the laws at their end. And if they are not to find farming, as an economically viable measure, and if there is shortage of produce, look at the consequences which will have on each one of us. If we are forced to import, the cost will be in geometric proportions. So it is time that we notice this alarming scenario. It has been referred in more than one quarter as an existential threat, and that is why this book is significant, and it is time that the courts, the regional chairperson of the National Green Tribunal, Sister Justice Pushpa Satyanarayana is here, all the honorable judges of the High Court of here, some of us are here. There was an erudite speech by Justice Suryakant, who unfortunately he was very keen to come. It's just that in the last minute, the valedictory fell on 1st September. Her Excellency the President is presiding, and Justice Suryakant is giving the valedictory, so he sent a voice message, and he also referred to the effect that it will have on the marginalized and the need for all of us to work towards climate change. So time for all of us to adapt the tools that we have hitherto and fashion new tools. Maybe the threshold will have to be increased or decreased depending on what is needed in a given scenario to protect the environment. Maybe we'll have to be skewed more and be pro-environment, pro-ecocentric. I think that's the need of the hour, and I think that is where the book will serve its purpose. I also promised to you to read the shift in approach when we were largely seen as anthropocentric. It was again the Supreme Court which stepped in. And I had a little shock when Naveen said that the topic was for all the speakers. Because, normally you leave it to the presiding judge. So I thought Justice Suryakant would speak on it. Just fortunately, when I saw my points, they also fitted into the topic, planet Earth and the third pillar. So the contribution not only of the Supreme Court, of the High Courts and the National Green Tribunal has been significant, though there is a long way to go. In the Godavarman Trimalpad matters, which we traditionally known as the forest bench matters, one of the orders dealt with the shift. The Indian judiciary recognized the need of an ecocentric approach, emphasizing the need to protect endangered species like the Asiatic wild buffalo, not just for their utility to humans, but for their intrinsic value. Justice K. Radhakrishnan, speaking for the bench, said, environmental justice could be achieved only if we drift away from the principle of anthropocentric to ecocentric. Might alone cannot be the right. We need to, live and let live. Many of our principles like sustainable development, polluter pays principle, intergenerational equity have their roots in anthropocentric principles. Anthropocentrism is always human interest focused, and non-human has only instrumental value to humans. In other words, humans take precedence and human responsibilities to non-human based benefits to humans. Ecocentrism is nature-centered, where humans are part of nature and non-human has intrinsic value. In other words, human interests do not take automatic precedence, and humans have obligations to non-humans independently of human interest. Ecocentrism is therefore life-centered, nature-centered, where nature includes both human and non-humans. National Wildlife Action Plan 2002-12 and centrally sponsored scheme, Integrated Development of Wildlife Habitats, is centered on the principle of ecocentrism. Even this is captured when a separate chapter is devoted by Justice Dr. Jyothimani and Naveen on the Wildlife Act in their book, and I think that is the correct approach to have. So I think I've taken long, and I know that the darling of the evening, Sundaresh, is to speak. I just want to conclude by stating that this book should adorn the library of all the judicial academies first, the court libraries, the libraries of lawyers, so that under one umbrella you have the reference material and then you can develop on it, because this is a constantly evolving jurisprudence. Because environmental law is one where the interpretations, like for the Constitution, cannot be fossilized. It has to evolve with the times because our challenges keep on constantly changing. The litigation on climate change, statistically it has been proved that is increasing manifold. Governments are being taken to court internationally to comply with the Paris Convention undertakings. And there are countries which have ordered the government, given them deadlines to comply. There are cases filed on big corporates for carbon emissions. And so this is a new area which is emerging, and as I have appealed before in one other talk, the young lawyers, law students here, we should be ready for the day of the battle, because then we can't be looking around for our weapon. So I congratulate Dr. Justice Jyothimani and Naveen for this timely, contribution. Last week, sending a message to a senior lawyer in Kerala who, as a sole author, published 2 books on the same day, released. I said, for an author, the release of the book is like the birth of a child. So I said, releasing 2 books is like becoming the parent of a twin. And when Anirudh released his book last week in Delhi, with 40 other contributors, including Adarsh, Subramaniam's son, and so many others, I said the book was like an addition to the joint family. So what do you say when 2 authors release 1 book? I think it is an addition to the co-personary. I thank all of you for the opportunity, and I wish you good luck. Thank you very much.
Thank you, my lord. Thank you, my lord, for the very informative address and reiterating that the need of the hour is environmental protection and being eco-centric. I'm extremely happy to have with us Honorable Justice M.M. Sundaresh, whose profound knowledge and landmark judgments continue to shape our legal landscape from the Honorable Supreme Court, as it did when his lordship was adorning the bench of our Honorable Madras High Court. We are privileged to have his lordship amidst us today on this joyous occasion. I now invite his lordship to deliver the presidential address. Lordship, please.
Thank you, Varsha. Heroes of the day, Dr. Jyothimani and Naveen Kumar Murthi, my younger brother, Justice Viswanathan, who has virtually covered everything I intend to speak. My good friend R. Subramaniam, judges of this court, past and present, Justice Pal Vasudhamar, former Chief Justice of Jammu Kashmir, Pushpa Satyanarayanan, senior advocates, members of the families of Naveen, particularly my cousin S.T. Murthy and my sister-in-law, all those junior lawyers who work for the book to come out with flying colors, and other invitees. A very good afternoon to all of you. I finished law in the year 1985. Immediately after I finished my law, my father sent me to Delhi to try my hands in the UPSC examination. Like a dutiful son, I traveled to Delhi in GT Express. In the morning, I reached Delhi. I got down. Then I was coming out to the station. There were array of shops. In all those stalls, there was an exhibition of bottles covered with liquor. I was very curious to find out what it was. So I just bought one bottle, opened it up and then drank it. Then I found it was water. How soon it has become a reality now, as we are even now drinking in a bottled water. That is the situation we are at present. In a couple of my judgments and in my speeches, I have quoted the prophetic and telling statement of Hubert Reeves. I would love to quote it again. He said, human beings are the most insane of all the species. A man worships an invisible God, destroys a visible nature without knowing the visible nature he destroys is the invisible God he worships. This is the principle governing environment. My heartiest congratulations to both the authors. As my brother has put it, it's a telling need of the hour. They really deserve every appreciation for the introduction of this book. What are we talking about? What is our understanding of environment? I'm only elaborating what my brother Vishwanathan has said. Environment is not something we are supposed to protect. It is not something we are supposed to preserve. It goes beyond. It's a combination of your right to live along with others. It's a foundation of the social structure and also the duty of those who govern. I will only put it in the words of Saint Thiruvalluvar. Paguttundu palluyir ombudal noolor toguttavalettrellam thalai. 2000 years ago he said it. A resonating verse repeated by Kaniyan Pungundannar. Yadum uriye yavarum kelir. the concept of Vasudeva Kudumpakam. You do not stand alone, you stand with all others. What do you mean by others? Others would mean all living beings, including plants. Non-living beings like air, water. It is the failure of the modern society in ignoring what our ancestor told us is a consequence that we face. Situation is grim. Last time when I came here, I read a newspaper publication. It says, today, the last man living in this particular village has died. The last man in the village died because there was no water. Water is a life source. Migration is a stark reality. Be it a plant, be it's a marine life, be it's a bird or animal or a human being. It happens from the village to town, town to city, state to state. People from neighboring state clamor here, people from villages come to towns, people from town come to cities. This is the impact of environment. Migration does create its own problem. The earth, by every 100 years, is getting warmer by 1.1%. Something has been touched about global greenhouse gas impact. What do you mean by this? Sunlight comes down, it heats up, nights gets cooler. When the heat is supposed to go up, the carbon holds it. We do not understand the impact of environment. As my brother has put it, it destroys a social fabric. Economy has to be understood through the environmental impact. We are losing about 10% of the GDP because of the environmental impact. The UN report says $3.75 trillion are being lost every year because of the environmental impact and degradation. How does it happen? Unfortunately, we always compare things in terms of money. Even that's wrong. That's why my brother Viswanathan has said it, do not understand the environment through the lens of anthropologistic approach. What is required is an ecocentric approach. Every day, numerous species are getting extinct. Now, can we create it? In a cycle, if some of the species disappear, what is the impact? You put a value for this building. Can you put a value for a tree? You multiply it for a forest along with this microorganism, environmental impact, its multiple role, such as acting as aquifer. This is the fault line with us. We don't need to take care of environment. We need to understand environment which we have consciously destroyed with a narrow-minded approach. The problem of environment is global, but action is local. It should start from the individual to the country. It is said it affects the marginalized. It does. It affects the poor people. They lose their livelihood. It leads to poverty, leads to multiple diseases. As you are forced to drink polluted and contaminated water, leading to cancer and other incurable diseases. But it doesn't leave anybody. India is the second most polluted country in the world. The recent study shows we are losing around 5.8 years of our life because of environment pollution. Situation is much worse in a place where myself and Brother Viswanathan are living today. The statistics shows it's about 12 years. Those who are living in Delhi, I am comparatively fortunate than him because he has been living in Delhi for more number of years. I wish him for longer years. What are we doing about it? Is it development? Is it progress? It impacts everybody. It offsets society. Yesterday I told Naveen that I'll be coming today in my usual dress, not in court, as though I went to the court with the other function in Anirudh when Anirudh called me. Because I believe it should start with us. Change should come from within. I have been a part of the court monitoring committee, and I know the unimaginable damage that is caused by the dying unit. Just because as human beings we want to look good. Even now my wife says, why are you wearing white all the time? It's for somebody to look at you. But the impact of environment, as it is said about intergenerational equity, concept of trusteeship, sustainable development, we are destroying all this concept, polluter pays. That is the reason why this book gives a different insight. It emphasizes the need for understanding the environment in its correct perspective and have a holistic view by understanding, by having a comprehensive knowledge about different enactment and create a code. After tracing the history, the book goes into the constitutional mandate. I don't want to diverge from this topic given to me. Brother Viswanathan was talking to you about the constitutional mandate. If you understand the scope and ambit of Article 14, and as referred by him in Ranjit Singh, court has moved forward and said, you have a right to be protected from a climate change. It not only deals with Article 21, but Article 14 also, because it can't be done in part to those who could afford. You can sit in the air conditioner and then avoid and make the others to suffer. Article 14 and 21 will have to be read with Article 48A and 51AG. Protection is for everybody. There is an interesting judgment of the Supreme Court rendered in the year 2014. In Nagarajan's case, where the rights of animals have been recognized. It has been read into Article 21. Supreme Court went on further to expand this concept. In the recent judgment, we have said, if Article 14 and 21 are understood in the correct perspective, then duty is not only on the constitutional courts, but also every other court, be it a civil court of original jurisdiction or a criminal court. This should be the expanded understanding of an environmental law. That's the reason why we have reinstated a concept of ecocentric approach. He was also referring to my speech. We were discussing about the role of the corporate entities in environmental law vis-a-vis the IBC code. A new concept has been developed called ESG. Expansion is environmental, social governance. Which imposes strong liability on the companies to take care of the environmental issues, in particular climate change. There's a beautiful statement made by the German Chancellor, Angela. She said, climate change does not know about frontiers. The same thing applies to the protection of forests also. I must acknowledge and say that the environmental bench here, led by Judges Satish Kumar and then the other judges here, they are doing an excellent job. This is, I think, one of the Madras High Court is one of the few courts where environmental bench has been constituted, in which two of the judges, Judges Bharat Chakravarti, is also here, just like the Supreme Court. This only reimposes the importance of understanding and protecting the environment. Coming back to the subject, a corporate entity is expected to take care of three factors: mitigating the damages done by it, controlling the damage, while moving towards a pollution-free future. Now, there are two concepts which they will come in this implementation. One is the management of carbon, what we call carbon credit and carbon deficit. A company is expected to move towards a carbon-free functioning of the industry which it is running. It has to increase the surplus by reducing the permissible parameter of the carbon. And that's why the concept of carbon banking has come. Now, this is an interesting topic. This carbon banking can be an asset. You can evaluate in terms of monetary consideration, where it can be sold. To understand this, the companies are expected to have its own auditing and accounting to be evaluated by an external agency. What is called green accounting and auditing. What is applicable to this country can be applied to the country, so that the country which is in excess of mitigating the carbon emission can sell it to the other country which emits more, which will be an incentive to that country, and the other country which buys will appreciate that it will move towards the remission of carbon. In that bargain, more investment will come. The company's rating will go up. The investors' confidence will go up. These are all the new concepts which are emerging. Artificial intelligence will play a substantial role in this. I do not wish to hold you for long, except by stating that judiciary in general and lawyers in particular will have a long role to play in this country. We speak about development, we speak about freebies without realizing that these so-called activities are coming at a very serious premium. Not only the private entities, but the instrumentalities of the state continue to cause serious environmental degradation. Even today, without any attempt, we are discharging untreated effluents into all the water bodies, including the sea. We suffer because of this. I only wish to point out only one issue. Till now, we are concentrating primarily on the public law field to give a remedy and make the violator more accountable. The damage done to an individual should partake through the public law, private law remedy. This is an idea for all of you to think. Maybe we might require specialized acts. Maybe we might go through the common law remedy. Maybe we might require a soft act. But it is the appropriate time for us, for all of us, to seriously consider hitting the polluter under the belt by making him to pay for each and every one of the sufferers, instead of keeping the redressal through the public law remedy. Environment will have a serious impact on the social fiber, affects the health, affects the economy of this country. So I once again congratulate both the authors for the stupendous tasks undertaken by them in spending large their time and energy in creating this wonderful book. Once again, my congratulations to them. Best of luck. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, my Lord Honorable Justice Sundaresh, for that exhilarating address covering all aspects. It was due for Varsha, but I'd stepped in just to point out one tiny note for our audience. Most of you would know Professor Upendra Bakshi, a renowned scholar in constitutional law. Most of us would have seen his articles, read his books. His Lordship Justice Sundaresh was addressing about green accounting and those concepts. These are all part of his fantastic judgment that was written very recently, about 4 months back. I would only want to point out one paragraph of an article written very recently. In a 59-paragraph judgment in the state of Telangana versus Muhammad Abdul Qasim, crafted a disquisition that should be widely read. It should be on the work desk of Prime Minister, every Chief Minister, all High Court and District Court Justices, and all key officials in the government. The judgment should also find a pride of place on the work desk of all leaders of the bar, judicial academies, law academics, eco-activists, and media managers. We are fortunate that the first page of our book starts with this judgment. Before my Lord Justice Jyothimani could deliver the vote of thanks, as the co-author, I have the duty that this book was not a product of both of us, just two individuals. It was a product of an excellent team of youngsters who had worked night, day, morning, mid-morning, what you call it, for several months, and I deem it my duty that they all are invited on stage to have a photograph with the honorable dignitaries. May I invite my colleagues, Varsha Sridharan, Mr. Mahamani, who was a pillar for the book, a young boy from Madurai, from a humble family, who has done wonders. May I invite Mr. Vishnu Priyan, a young intern, a lawyer last week, who had a family challenge but has performed very well. May I invite Mr. Prem Chanda. May I invite Mr. Siddharth Vishnu, who spent substantial hours on the book. May I invite Mr. Arvind Karthikeyan, my long-term colleague Mohan Kumar, Mr. Surjit Krishna, Mr. Ramamurthy, Mr. R.V. Arvind, to the stage. All of them, apart from other friends, have contributed so much for the book. May I request my Lord Honorable Justice Sundaresh and Justice Vishwanathan so that we can have a photograph with them. may I take the liberty to invite my senior, my father, also to join the photograph.
I now invite Honorable Mr. Justice P.Jyothimani, former judge of the Madras High Court and co-author of the book, who has been a pillar of strength right from the early days till today, to deliver the vote of thanks. Lordship, please.
My Lord Honorable Justice Sundaresh, My Lord Honorable Justice Vishwanath, My Lord Honorable Justice Subramaniam, Mr. Naveen, Honorable Judges of the Madras High Court, past and present, my brother Justice Pal Vasanta Kumar, Honorable Justice Pushpa Satyanarayana, expert member of NGT, Mr. Satya Gopal, Honorable Justice Madhavi Devi of Telangana High Court, Honorable Justice Pujari, Chairman of Odisha Human Rights Commission, Registrar of the University of Madras, IAS, IFS, IPS officers who have responded to our invitation, learned senior advocates from the Madras High Court, large number of advocates who have come from Delhi, honorable members of NCLT and NCLAT, my dear lawyers. Good afternoon to all of you. We have heard very illustrative speeches by three of our eminent judges. At the outset, I thank all of them. Adding one thing about environment, I was just thinking last week, we talked so much about the global warming, and UNEP is always warning. I am a life member of UNEP, and we are warning the entire world. Please see that the sea temperature does not go beyond 1.5 degree. It went to 1.5001, there was a tsunami. And the remaining period of this century is going to be very disastrous according to the UNEP. And we people have to contribute to mitigate the damages which is likely to happen, because such damages are beyond any jurisdiction, and it happens to everybody. I was just thinking last week, I just went to Google, touched the term space. I found the space is full of waste, e-waste. And ultimately, I found that majority of these e-waste on the space are because of the space missiles sent by the countries throughout the world. And an article I happened to read, we do not know how long the equilibrium of space is going to continue because of these space waste created by the nations of the world. We have to think in terms of that, it appears. I'm just sharing my experience for you to ponder over this issue. Probably the Honorable Supreme Court also may think about it, and Justice Viswanathan and Justice MMSJ. I thank all the participants at the outset. And I thank Lord Almighty for giving opportunity for us to join in these efforts at this point of global warming. My thanks are due to Honorable Justice M.M. Sundaresh, who has readily accepted our invitation, and in spite of his busy schedule, he has taken time to travel to Chennai and given a wonderful speech about the economic aspect too, relating to the environment issues. Thank you very much, my Lord. I thank Honorable Justice K.V. Viswanathan, whose approach is always used to be scientific, because he has been in Delhi for so many years, and his speech is wonderful with the statistical particulars. And I have appreciated him when in one of the speeches we made in Tamil, which we always like. But let us not. But then it was a wonderful thing, and I thank Honorable Justice K.V. Viswanathan taking his time to travel to Chennai and gave a very, very, very interesting lecture and speech. My thanks are to Honorable Justice Suryakant, who has been very keen to be present today, and because of the intervening factors he was unable to be present, and his speech by video conferencing was excellent. And his message given to the school, this book you can read, the first message is of Justice Suryakant. A wonderful message of 3 pages he has given, and I thank my Lord Honorable Justice Suryakant. I thank Honorable Justice Magadevan, who has also given a message about this book. My thanks are to all the honorable sitting judges and the retired judges who have taken time to come on a Sunday in large number in honoring us. Specifically, I thank Justice Pal Vasantakumar, former Chief Justice of Jammu and Kashmir, and my thanks are to Justice Madhavi Devi of Telangana High Court, my Lord Justice Madhavi Devi of Telangana High Court, and Justice Pujari, Chairman of Odisha Human Rights Commission. My thanks are to all the senior lawyers of our High Court and my dear members of the bar. I have to necessarily thank the team of authors. I used to say it is a team of authors, not only we two, Naveen and myself for the authors, but the team of advocates who have been working day and night for nearly 2 years. As Naveen has put it, and they have been working during night time also throughout. And I appreciate the efforts taken by these young lawyers in not only taking the statutory provisions and also the notifications issued by the government, apart from the judgments of the Honorable Apex Court, various high courts and the National Green Tribunal, and the comments having been prepared after showing the same to us. And the efforts taken by them are enormous. I want to particularly mention about Varsha, Mahamani, Mr. Mohan Kumar, Mr. Prem Chandar, Mr. Aravind Karthikeyan, Mr. Sweet Krishna, Mr. Vishnu Priyan, and paralegal staffs, Mr. R. Perisami and Mr. M. Ajit Kumar. We, both of us, jointly thank all of you, and the entire world is going to remember all of you, because this is going to be a subject which is going to be appreciated throughout the world. Mr. Siddharth Vishnu, all of them have done a wonderful job, and I thank all of you. Oh, sorry. He is forming part of us. I thank my Lord Honorable Justice R. Subramaniam. We belong to the same age. We have practiced together. We call him as a Paka Subramaniam, and he has been very close to us. And that is why, normally I forget my wife, you know. Somebody asked my wife's name, I used to forget. And that is affection. Forgetting something is more affection, and that is how Mr. Subramaniam forms part of us, and I thank Honorable Justice Subramaniam for giving a wonderful speech about the contents of the entire book, and within a period of 1 hour, he was able to grasp the entire contents of the book as such. Thank you very much. I request all of you to join us in the lunch which has been provided today. Thank you very much.
I request everyone to please rise for the national anthem.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जाहे तव शुभ आशीष मागे गाहे तव जय गाथा जनगण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे.
Thank you very much, everyone. We can join for lunch. We would be having a book introduction with the permission of the President of the Madras Bar Association, Mr. Bhaskar, and the President of the Madras High Court Advocate Association, Mr. Mohankrishnan, sometime in the next 10 days. The book introduction would be there, so that we'll be giving a book to the association. Thank you.